What we have here is a 1,000-gallon underground propane tank. I purchased this tank from the state of Michigan, and the pressure relief valve was busted off. They broke it off by accident while moving it, and so what I've done is I've replaced that pressure relief valve with a new one, and I had to use an easy out. I'll post a picture of the actual easy out that I used. And so what we have to do now is we have to evacuate all the air out. We have to put 2 gallons of methanol in there to absorb any moisture that has condensated inside the tank. And then we're going to backfill it with propane vapor, and then she'll be ready to install and fill. Let's give you a closer look at the setup here. When I initially tried to do this, the fill valves there, the vapor and the liquid fill valves, they opened up from the inside somewhere between 10 and 15 inches of vacuum. So you've got to cap those or hook those into the vacuum line somehow. I chose to just cap them. I bought the fittings, and as you can see, I reduced it down and just put a plug in each one. And what we've got going on here is the orange line. That is that's hooked up to the vacuum pump in my garage. And these 2 black lines, they go down to 2 individual 100-gallon propane tanks. So what we're going to do is, once this gets down to 26 inches of vacuum, we're pushing 20 inches right now, and it's taken a lot of time to evac all this air out, but once we get down to 26 inches, that's what the specs called for from the research that I did. We can then shut the vacuum pump off and open up the propane valves and put propane vapor back into the tank and get this tank ready to be filled.
Get a better look at that mist coming out of there. You want to make sure you keep a check on your oil. So if you're interested in doing this or ordering one of these vacuum pumps off of Amazon, you definitely want to get an extra quart of vacuum pump oil, and make sure to keep it topped off, because that mist does draw it down. Not nearly as much as I thought it would, but it will impact it if you run the vacuum pump for a long time.
This is the easy out that I bought to remove the leftover threads from the broken pressure relief valve. I bought this at Tractor Supply. As you can see, it's a number 7 easy out, and that was a 3/4 inch brass thread that was in there. So if you have a similar situation, the number 7 is the one that you need to use. You can see it bit into the brass there and removed it pretty easily. It's been a long, slow process, but we're finally at about 27 inches of vacuum. It's time to shut the vacuum pump off and turn the gas on and fill with propane vapor. All right, as you can see, this is the large fill. This is what the fitting actually looks like. This is the small fill. This is what that fitting looks like. And then I'll show you what they look like on the tank. But this is for the accessory port. That's just a plug with a seal on it. Keep any leaks from leaking your gas out. As you can see, I swapped out the vacuum gauge for a load indicating pressure gauge. And the tank valve is open, and then both of those 100-pound tanks are back wide open again. So we're going to try to pressurize this tank to about 4 to 5 pounds of pressure. Based on my research, the minimum is 2, so if we go to 5, we don't want to overfill it, and plus I don't want to use up my hundreds if I don't have to. I have those slotted for a different project. That's why for these fittings right here, I specifically ordered the inverted flare fittings to go into a changeover regulator, an automatic failover regulator, and that's for another project that I'm going to post a video on in a few months. Alright, I've got the valves shut off on the propane tanks, the 2 100-pound tanks that I have over here that I'm using to backfill with vapor. I've got the tank valve open here. So as you see, we're at about just over 4 pounds of pressure. So I'm going to call that good, and going to consider the tank purged at this point, ready to paint and put in the ground and get filled.